Hello, and welcome to my channel, where I talk about the latest economic news and trends. In today's video, I'm going to answer a question that many of you have been asking me. Is the U.S. in a recession? A recession is a period of significant decline in economic activity that lasts more than a few months. It usually affects income, employment, production, and spending. The most common way to measure a recession is by looking at the gross domestic product, GDP, which is the total value of goods and services produced in a country. The rule of thumb is that a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. According to this definition, the U.S. is already in a recession because the GDP shrank by 0.1% in the third quarter of 2022 and by 0.4% in the fourth quarter of 2022. This is the first time since 2009 that the U.S. economy has contracted for 2 quarters in a row. But it's not always that simple. The official arbiter of U.S. recessions is the National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER, which uses a broader set of indicators to determine when a recession begins and ends. The NBER has not yet declared that the U.S. is in a recession, but it could do so retroactively in the future. So what are the factors that the NBER considers? Well, they include things like employment, income, industrial production, retail sales, and consumer confidence. Let's take a look at some of these indicators and see how they are doing. First, let's talk about employment. The labor market is one of the most important indicators of economic health because it affects people's income, spending, and well-being. The good news is that the U.S. labor market is still strong, despite some slowdowns in recent months. In January 2023, the U.S. added 199,000 jobs, beating expectations too. The unemployment rate fell to 3.5%, matching the lowest level since 1969. The labor force participation rate also increased slightly to 63.4%, indicating that more people are looking for work. However, there are some signs of weakness in the labor market as well. The average hourly earnings growth slowed to 3% year-over-year in January, down from 3.3% in December. This means that workers are not getting enough raises to keep up with inflation, which erodes their purchasing power. The number of people working part-time for economic reasons also increased by 88,000 to 4.2 million in January too. These are people who would prefer to work full-time but cannot find enough hours or suitable jobs. Next, let's look at income. Income is another key indicator of economic activity because it determines how much people can spend or save. Real personal income, which is income adjusted for inflation and taxes, rose by 0.4% in December 2022, after falling by 0.5% in November 3. This was mainly driven by an increase in wages and salaries 3. However, real disposable personal income, which is income after taxes and transfers, fell by 0.1% in December, after dropping by 0.6% in November. This means that people had less money left over after paying their bills and obligations. The decline in disposable income was partly due to higher inflation, which reduces the value of money over time. Inflation has been surging in the U.S., reaching an annual rate of 7% in December 2022, the highest since 1982. The main drivers of inflation have been energy prices, which rose by 29.3% year-over-year in December, and food prices, which increased by 6.3% year-over-year. Other categories that saw significant price increases include shelter, transportation services, medical care services, and apparel. Inflation has been fueled by several factors, such as supply chain disruptions caused by the pandemic and trade wars. Another factor that affects the economy is the interest rate policy of the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank of the U.S. The Fed controls the federal funds rate, which is the interest rate that banks charge each other for overnight loans. This rate influences other interest rates in the economy, such as mortgage rates, car loan rates, and credit card rates. The Fed has been raising the federal funds rate since March 2022 to slow down inflation and prevent the economy from overheating. The Fed has hiked the rate 11 times so far, from 0.25% to 5.25%, which is the highest level since 2001. The Fed has also been reducing its balance sheet, which is the amount of bonds and other assets that it holds. This means that the Fed is withdrawing money from the economy, making it less available and more expensive. The Fed's actions have had a mixed impact on the economy. On one hand, higher interest rates make borrowing more costly for consumers and businesses, which reduces spending and investment. Higher interest rates also strengthen the U.S. dollar, which makes U.S. exports more expensive and less competitive in foreign markets. On the other hand, higher interest rates can also boost confidence in the economy, as they signal that the Fed is taking action to keep inflation under control and maintain financial stability. The Fed has indicated that it may raise the federal funds rate one more time this year, depending on how the economic data evolves. However, some analysts and investors are worried that the Fed may be tightening too much and too fast, risking a recession or a financial crisis. Others argue that the Fed is doing the right thing by being proactive and preventing inflation from getting out of hand. So, is the U.S. in a recession? The answer is not clear-cut, as different indicators show different signals. The GDP data suggests that the U.S. is already in a recession, but other indicators, such as employment and income, show that the economy is still growing, albeit at a slower pace. The NBER has not made an official call yet, but it may do so in the future. The outlook for the U.S. economy depends on many factors, such as how inflation evolves, how consumers and businesses react to higher interest rates, how the pandemic and trade wars affect supply chains and demand, and how the Fed adjusts its policy in response to changing conditions. The bottom line is that the U.S. economy is facing some headwinds and uncertainties, but it is not doomed to a recession. There are still many strengths and opportunities in the U.S. economy, such as innovation, entrepreneurship, diversity, and resilience. As long as we stay informed, prepared, and optimistic, we can overcome any challenges and thrive in any environment. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more economic insights and updates. And don't forget to leave your comments and questions below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions on this topic. See you next time.